Obi Wan Kenobi is an American television miniseries created for streaming service Disney+. It is part of the Star Wars franchise and stars Ewan McGregor as Obi Wan Kenobi, reprising his role from the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Set 10 years after the events of Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith in 2005, the series follows Kenobi as he sets out to rescue the kidnapped Princess Leia, played by Vivien Lyra Blair, from the Galactic Empire, leading to a confrontation with his former apprentice, Darth Vader, played by Hayden Christensen. The project originated as a spin-off film written by Hassan Amini and directed by Stephen Daldry. It was reworked as a limited series following the commercial failure of Solo, a Star Wars story, in 2018. McGregor was confirmed to be starring in August 2019, and Deborah Chow was hired to direct a month later. Production was scheduled to begin in July 2020, but the series was put on hold in January 2020 because Lucasfilm was unsatisfied with the scripts. Joby Harold was hired to rewrite the series and serve as a showrunner in April 2020, and executive producing with Chow, McGregor, Kathleen Kennedy, and Michelle Redjwan. Additional casting took place in March 2021, with co-stars such as Joel Edgerton, Bonnie Please, Jimmy Smits, James Earl Jones, and Christensen reprising their prequel trilogy roles. Filming began in May 2021 in Los Angeles using stagecraft video wall technology and wrapped up in September of that year. Natalie Holt composed the score, while Star Wars film composer John Williams wrote the main theme. The first 2 episodes of Obi Wan Kenobi premiered on May 27, 2022, and the subsequent 4 episodes were released weekly until June 22nd. The story is set 10 years after the events of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith in 2005, in which the Jedi were destroyed by Order 66 and Obi-Wan Kenobi's apprentice, Anakin Skywalker, became the Sith Lord, Darth Vader. Kenobi is in hiding on the planet Tatooine, watching over Anakin's son, Luke, when he is called on a mission to rescue Anakin's daughter, Leia, after she is kidnapped by the Galactic Empire's Jedi-hunting Inquisitors in a plot to draw Kenobi out. This leads to a confrontation between Kenobi and Vader. The series stars Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi Master who survived Order 66 and now lives in exile under the name Ben on the planet Tatooine, watching over a young Luke Skywalker. McGregor was excited to play the version of the character closer to Alec Guinness's portrayal from the original Star Wars trilogy than his own younger version from the prequel trilogy, with Kenobi beginning the series broken, faithless and beaten, having somewhat given up. Executive producer Michelle Redjwan described Kenobi as being a pretty traumatic moment following his losses in Revenge of the Sith 2005 and including his apprentice Anakin's fall to the dark side of the Force. Kenobi left Anakin for dead on the Mustafar at the end of the film and feels guilty for doing so, with director Deborah Chow being intrigued by the idea that Kenobi might still care deeply for Anakin. Head writer Joby Harold said the series would relate the very emotional version of Kenobi in the prequels to Alec Guinness's Zen Master in A New Hope in 1977. McGregor was a part of the conversations about Kenobi's characterization in the series and re-watched the Skywalker saga films to prepare. He also read science fiction novels, including those written by Ian M. Banks, for the role. Then we have Rupert Friend as the Grand Inquisitor, a member of the Power N species from Utopia, who's the highest-ranking Inquisitor of the Galactic Empire. He was once a member of the Jedi Order, serving as a Jedi Temple guard. Friend said the character enjoyed the sound of his own voice and naively believed himself to be on par with Darth Vader. Then there's Moses Ingram as Reva Sevander, or the Third Sister, a ruthless, ambitious Inquisitor who feels a need to prove herself to the Grand Inquisitor and Darth Vader. A former Jedi youngling, she secretly plots revenge against Vader for killing her peers during Order 66. Reva shares a common goal and being dedicated to finding Kenobi, though she is open to using more impulsive tactics. Vivien Lyra Blair as Leia Organa, Anakin Skywalker's daughter and Luke's twin sister and princess of Alderaan, kidnapped by the hired bounty hunters. Kumail Najiji as Haji Estri, a street-level con artist working on the streets of Dayu, posing as a Jedi. Najiji researched real-life con artists and magicians to prepare for the role. India Virama as Tala Durith, a disillusioned Imperial officer on the planet of Mapuso who helps Jedi escape the Empire with the help from the Path. Joel Edgerton as Owen Lars, a moisture farmer from Tatooine, Anakin Skywalker's stepbrother and Luke's uncle, who is skeptical of Kenobi's presence on Tatooine and desired involvement with Luke's life. And Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones as Anakin Skywalker, or Darth Vader, Kenobi's former apprentice who fell into the dark side and became a Sith Lord. He's the father of Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa. Having not played the character since 2005, Christensen rewatched the Skywalker saga films, as well as the animated series Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Rebels, to prepare for the role. He enjoyed seeing how the animated series had further explored the relationship between Anakin and Kenobi. Christensen was excited to portray Darth Vader, having primarily performed the character as Anakin Skywalker previously. James Earl Jones voices Darth Vader, reprising his role from the previous Star Wars media. Now, I found myself really enjoying this series, but this is definitely a show for a Star Wars fan. If you don't understand the backstories, the nuances of these characters, and frankly the mythology of the series, then this show will be rather boring for you. In saying that though, the series starts off well when it gives you a quick rundown of the prequel trilogy, often considered by many to be too drawn out or not very well made, as fundamentally the 3 films were all about how Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and basically you really just need to see the third film, the best of the 3, to really tell you that story properly. Ewan McGregor was though one of the standouts in this original trilogy, and his deep reflective performance as Obi Wan Kenobi was definitely one of the highlights of the series. Now this must have been rather a daunting task for Ewan McGregor, because he had to step in the shoes of acclaimed actor Alec Guinness, who of course became so synonymous with this role. One of the aspects of those films was the fascinating relationship that developed between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and the balancing act between playing father and son, being a mentor, or irritating Anakin at times, as he became more ambitious and more impatient than the softly spoken introspective Obi-Wan would allow. Now the Revenge of the Sith ending famously shows how Anakin finally becomes the famed Darth Vader. Now here though we see some years after, a fully formed Darth Vader at the height of his powers and tyranny. Obi finds himself lost and not at one with the Force, and it's wonderful to see Ewan portray this character so sort of lost within himself. Ewan is absolutely fantastic in this role, and the show really lives and breathes on his finely tailored performance, from a veteran actor who knows perfectly how to capture the complexities of this fascinating, iconic character. For me, I've been enamored and intrigued with Darth Vader for many, many years. He's just one of the most iconic villains in film history. He has a presence and a way about him that just never seems to cease amazement in me. All quite strange when you think you cannot ever really see the actor's face behind the mask. And of course, bringing the iconic James Earl Jones' voice once again to voice the Darth Vader character, well, it's just unadulterated goosebump stuff for me. I absolutely loved seeing him use his full power, and the fight scenes with him are just frankly awesome. I almost feel this series deserved a movie on its own, but in saying that, a TV series like this can explore the characters in further detail. Moses Ingram is excellent as the third sister in what is a truly multi-layered, nuanced performance, as you go from initially hating her at the start of the show to feeling sympathy for her later on. The rest of the cast are on point, but I must make a special shout out here to Vivien Lyra Blair as Princess Leia, as I feel she really captures the fighting spirit that Carrie Fisher brought to the adult version of the famous character. She borders on the right side of obnoxious and pretentious, and captures the role very well. Now, as you would expect, this is a well-made, fantastic series, and it really does tie in beautifully into the original Star Wars stories, which really made the films work so well, something that the new trilogy really fundamentally lacked. At the end of the day, these are the characters and the stories that made Star Wars work from the start, and the reason why Star Wars story will always stand the test of time. And for me, any plot involving the famed Darth Vader will always get a rise out of me. This is also an emotionally deep and layered show. It fits perfectly more with the original trilogy, Rogue One, and the Mandalorian series, rather than the poorly written new trilogy. This is one for the fans, as the show moves quickly and doesn't overstay its welcome, but in some ways seeing it on the big screen would have just made it that all the more special. In saying that though, I thoroughly enjoyed Obi Wan Kenobi, and I cannot wait to see what they offer next in the Star Wars universe. Obi Wan Kenobi gets a 9 out of 10.